Ian Wilson, happy birthday and good morning to you from the Tobago Updates family. We're wishing you a bright day and prosperous day ahead. We're wishing you all the best going forward in this day, and that God continues to richly bless you. Up next, we have Rhea Richardson George, no stranger to the Tobago Updates family. Yeah, we hope that you have a great day today. I will be swinging by for some cake and some ice cream, and I'm sure the Tobago Updates family should swing in too as well. But we hope that you have a bright day and you spend it with those who love, cherish, and appreciate you, and wishing you all God's continued blessings in your life. And this has brought us to the end of our birthday shout-outs, our birthday segment this morning. But to those of you who did not make it on the birthday lineup this morning, we want to say happy birthday to you and that you have a bright and safe day. Make sure you take this time to reflect on all God has in store for you in this upcoming year and all that you want to achieve. Now, Alex, what's on the rundown this morning?
On the rundown this morning, we continue to discuss our marine parks, and of course we are not going to avoid the discussion of recent tragedy. So we'll be talking with Ricardo Alfred, a marine surveyor, and Sean McCoon, director at Environment Tobago, and we'll be discussing these issues and probably the way forward. It's going to be quite an extended interview. Following that, we're going to be talking with Coach Soren Bishop. We'll be talking Carifta Games, and that is going to lighten the mood for us a bit, give us something that we can truly celebrate Renessa in the face of all recent developments. That's what we're going to be having this morning, and we look forward to some interesting discussions.
Now, viewers, before we go to the break, we want to remind you to share the live, share the live, share the live. Up next, we're talking with Ricardo Alfred and Sean McCoon. We're talking about the marine park mishap. Stay tuned.
Hop, hop, hip hooray, Easter money's on its way. Some bunnies getting a great rate today. Looking for a rate that's bright and sunny? Hop on down for some Easter money. 1% interest through and through, because we see you at BCU. Apply for a 1% Easter loan and let's hatch something great together. Hop, hop, hip hooray, Easter money's on its way.
Our world is filled with rhythm. Rhythm that's unapologetic, infectious, timeless. Rhythm is commitment in action. It's how we show up for each other with unrelenting support that goes the distance. Rhythm lives in the tiny beats of our most intimate moments and the seismic roars of our biggest achievements. Rhythm is resilience in motion. So even when things go out of sync, we do what it takes to bring the rhythm back. At Flow, we understand your rhythm because we live it. That's why we're dedicated to building a network as resilient as you, with a team of familiar faces working every day to keep you on beat. You're at the heart of everything we do, and our commitment is to keep your rhythm flowing, no matter what.
Hi everyone, I'm Marissa Benin. Coming up, Jamaica, here we come. These women of vision are on a mission. Ride the waves and savor the flavor, otherwise known as spending quality time in Antigua and Barbuda. Fun times, plus the food that sets St. Kitts and Nevis apart, all available under one roof. Cue the entertainment and the food. It's Chinese Spring Festival time. It's all next on this station.
Nice.
If I have to call a supervisor one more time to sign off on a customer because their financials are in a mess, I will scream.
Hey, don't scream in a bank. That have lockup in it.
It's either they're not registered properly, or you know what? We could just forget about annual returns, right?
Compliance is a bad word to most of them. Haul your compliance out of here. But let me eat.
What is wrong with Trinbagonians? I mean, it has so much help they could get out there.
Well, you know, trainees, we don't like to spend we money.
But you know what? Be comfortable with losing we money. That make it any financial
What people
sense.
should do is call Anderson in Trinidad and Tobago.
Wait, what? Anderson in Trinidad and Tobago?
Anderson in Trinidad and Tobago Tax and Accounting Services. Yeah, they offer helping from registering your business to filing your tax. My lunch is over. Oh!
Wait, tell me more.
No, go and scream in the bank. You go and scream in the bank.
No, darling, don't get one sooner.
Are you in a dispute with a registered investment service provider of the TTSEC? Or maybe you're the victim of an investment scam? You can lodge a complaint or submit an anonymous tip to the Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission. Download our Investor Protection app or go to ttsec.org.tt to access our complaint form or submit an anonymous tip. Write a clear summary of your complaint. Submit copies of supporting documents along with the originals for verification. Provide a copy of the feedback received from the entity regarding your complaint. All investor complaints or scam reports submitted by the public are acknowledged and reviewed by the TTSEC. Investigations are pursued based on the outcome of the review. Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission, protecting the interests of investors and the public. You invest, we protect. Everyone benefits.
Okay. 335, 336, 337, 338, 339.
Counting on your fingers again. No wonder you lose your business.
Grandpa, thanks for helping me start over.
You not lucky in business, you know. As a child, you tried to sell hog plum. That failed. As a teenager, you and your boyfriend tried to break into the jewelry business. But hey, where that boy end up?
He live in Aruka in the Grove. The golden one.
Oh, child, if you want to get into business, you have to have your financial records intact. But hey, do you know your numbers?
Of course, 62433.
No, child, your numbers, your ratios, your equity ratios. You have a financial handicap.
What?
You need to see somebody about that. Anderson.
Who?
Anderson in Trinidad and Tobago, they offer tax and accounting services. They know about financial management.
Grandpa, I started this business with nothing.
And nothing is what you will end up with unless you call Anderson Services. Here.
Okay, this card is nice.
Yeah.
What's this?
Your rental fee. Have business will pay rent. Hot and groovy in the soca party.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Viewers, good morning and welcome back. As promised, we're talking about the Marine Park and the unfortunate incident that we had happen earlier this week. We're talking with Mr. Ricardo Alfred, Marine Surveyor, and Mr. Sean McCoon, Director, Environment, Tobago. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome.
Yes, good morning. Good morning.
We're having a conversation that I am certain we would prefer not to have at this point, but a conversation nonetheless that we must have. Your initial thoughts, of course, on the recent incident.
Right, so good morning to the viewing public. It's a very tragic situation, and I want to speak from both sides, which, you know, from a parent and then from the other side of someone who actually is an owner of one of these said vehicles. From my perspective as a maritime surveyor, what we normally check for, and which is done yearly, in terms of vessels, is that they must meet a certain level of seaworthiness, meaning that you check for any indentations, any damage to the hull, water ingress, damage to engines. There are different series that we check for. As relates to the enforcement side of it, the authority that relates to enforcing these same said regulations falls with the TTPS. They are the authority that can charge persons. So when person speaks about, if I give an example, let's say overloading, the only way that you could actually prove overloading is to bring that vessel to a safe harbor or a jetty in which the area is cornered off and persons are counted down. And then that number is recorded with the person's names and stuff like that. And then this now will go before the relevant charge to actually prove that the persons or the vessel was actually overloaded. Once the charge is made, you can now bring that forward to the same maritime service, and then the persons or license are revoked, and then there's different stuff that you can do. But it must be done based on evidence and facts. So that was just one example of different things, But as the morning progress, we can speak more about that.
So Nakuni, your initial...
It is, good morning everyone again. It is never a comfortable situation or topic when our life is lost. Certainly we want to convey our sincere condolences to the family, the Jogi family, on the passing of their daughter. And certainly for us as an island and a destination, it really overshadows the place with a dark cloud of negativity. But we need to find a way forward and find solutions. And Mr. Alfred and I were speaking before we came on set about solutions. And part of that is understanding our duty and responsibility not only as citizens, but in governance. So it's a delicate balance between duty of care as citizens, operators, as well as governance structure and enforcement. I cannot stress enough how important it is, the enforcement aspect of it is. We have been speaking about this for years upon years upon years, and up till last year, videos were placed into the public space, information was placed into the public space about the rules and regulations of the marine park. So now it is time for stringent measures to be put in place for implementation and certainly the enforcement.
So let's try taking it step by step. So let's talk a bit about regulations as they exist. And I want to say that while we're all incensed right now with jet ski operators, and I say we because I am pretty incensed over this issue, like everyone else. And you'll forgive me, Mr. Alfred, as a jet ski owner, right? But
I understand.
While we're incensed with jet ski owners now, we've had a couple of reef boats sinking in the past. So it's not just about jet skis.
Correct.
It's about how we operate. So let's talk for a bit about the regulations. I want to go step by step as quickly as we can. So talk me through, I want to operate a reef boat, I want to operate a jet ski. What are my requirements? And I want you to share that with us from the perspective of what legal or regulatory requirements exist at this point.
Good. So there's something called the Motor Launch Act, and then there's something called the Harbors Act, which is all backed up under the Shipping Act. If you own a reef boat or you are interested in building a reef boat, the conversation is have with the Maritime Service in terms of the billing aspect of it. Me as a surveyor will normally have the conversation with the builder as relates to certain structures and certain parts of the vessel that they will have to do in terms of being that to be deemed seaworthy. So one aspect of it is the survey. After the survey, and this is how it was many moons ago, in terms of the activities in the marine park, that does not fall under our remit. It falls
All right,
under.
so even before you get into the marine park, there are regulatory aspects of the construction,
correct,
which ought to be overseen by the harbor
surveyor.
The surveyor. After, let's say that is successfully, we get past that hurdle. Next step is their registration, is a requirement for insurance.
So the person or the owner will now have the conversation in which you have to provide certain documentation. One of the most important documentation is proof of liability, which we would normally refer to as insurance. The vessel will now be valued, and the insurance will now look at the paperwork and give a value for the insurance, because you are carrying passengers. So you must have that liability to cover in the event of incidents or accidents and stuff like that. Once you have that, you are now safe now to operate as relates to that vessel.
Is there a registration? I just want to make sure that we get.
Yeah, that's all part of the registration.
Part of the registration.
Part of the
process.
registration.
So after you've met the seaworthiness requirements in terms of your construction, you have insurance. You have to
provide the documentation as to who is captain in this boat. In terms of that person must be duly trained and have in our case here, a launch captain license. That must be in date and valid. It's valid for 3 years, 3 months. You can renew 3 months after and 3 months before. Right? So that gives us 6 months window in terms of person renewing their license. Once you have all those stuff, the vessel is safe to operate. The challenge that you have is that spaces or activities which will fall under the remit of the THA under the Marine Areas Preservation Act, which gives them authority in terms of how persons function or operate in the marine park. If a vessel is found to be rogue, what normally happens is that the Coast Guard now will now bring that vessel in, right? And then
let's go. So construction,
registration,
certification in terms of the operator.
Operating, yes.
That is what is required for a reef tow or a reef boat.
I would say for all crafts, all crafts must be registered, and they must be operated by
a certified captain,
a trained person.
All right,
trained person.
So I want us to let's put a comma right there.
Yes.
And then let's talk, because I want to get to you and how we see that this happens. Jet skis.
So a jet ski is considered a craft. You can carry passengers. You can carry more than one person on it. They are supposed to have insurance, and the craft is supposed to be seaworthy. And there's one other part that we have to speak of, but I guess in the conversation we talk about it. You have to be very careful in terms of the terminology that you use as relates to going before the court. Now, we use the word jet ski, but the trademark brand for jet ski is actually from a brand called Kawasaki. Right. If you have Yamaha, they call it Wave Runner. If you have a Sea-Doo, they call it a personal watercraft. So you have to, you see, when you go...
in our jurisdiction is the proper term.
The correct term is actually a watercraft. Okay. But we have to be very careful in terms of documentation that goes before the court. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to use certain words and then
they can easily sidestep.
And then now, the person can say, I don't. So you have to be very careful, because there are various loopholes in which you have to be very, very careful of it, as relates to bringing persons before justice and stuff like that.
In our jurisdiction, they are called watercraft.
Watercrafts, correct.
I want to have one of these watercraft.
Right.
What is required of me?
So let me give you, and I'm speaking here what's supposed to happen.
That's what we want to
what's supposed to happen. It is a craft. As of 2016, they are now required to have insurance. And then there's a regulation, a small boat regulation, that is supposed to be on stream very soon, which will deal with persons being certified, even on jet skis and also for instructors. So there will be a 2-week training. Let's say a visitor come, an instructor. If you're an owner of craft and you do rental, you're normally supposed to be doing a formalization. That's supposed to be happening.
Before we get there,
yes,
let's talk about my wanting to own. I must have insurance. Is there a requirement for registration somewhere with some authority?
All crafts are supposed to be registered.
Supposed to be registered.
All
so
crafts.
there's registration, there's insurance, and I'm supposed to be trained and certified in its operation.
Correct.
Good.
Because you're dealing with so there's the private owners and then there's the rentals. Which is,
I'm certain that there would be slight differences for right.
Yeah.
But there are those minimum requirements: insurance, registration, certification.
Correct. Yes.
Right. I think that's a good place for us to jump across to you, Mr. McCoon. We'll come back to you in a minute.
Yeah.
Is there, as far as you know and understand in our current circumstance, an enforcement of these initial regulations for both watercraft operators and the boats? The boats.
Yeah.
Now, we have the TTPS and we have the Coast Guard, right? Now, Mr. Alfred can correct me if I'm wrong, right? The Tobago House of Assembly has certain limitations in terms of enforcement, right? Yes, we can collaborate with the Coast Guard and the TTPS as the case may be, right? But it is left to be seen how the enforcement runs. At high peak times or peak periods, you would see patrols happening. Yes, there was an operation called Reef Shield that was carried out in times gone by, which shows that there is a relationship between the Tobago House of Assembly and the protective services, as the case may be, because once we all sit at a table and we flesh out the plans for enforcement, they can actually be carried out. All right. There is a Marine Parks Bill that exists in draft that was sent down to the Parliament in 2020, if I'm not mistaken, and Mr. Alfred can tell you more about that as well. And I believe that bill will give further impetus to having these regulatory frameworks as it relates to the marine park carried out in terms of enforcement, in terms of having the requisite consequences.
Right, even before we get to consequences, either of you can take this one. So there is initially, because what I'm looking at is how we can, at each step, work to prevent reoccurrence of these incidents. Is there currently a mechanism by which we can determine this craft is registered but this owner is not certified, we can't have you, or we don't have any record of current registration for this craft, it is going to stay on shore until we have? Do we have the capacity? Do we have the authority somewhere to do that now?
So, as Mr. Sean was saying, is that in periods of high activity, you would have all these various collaborations. The challenge is there isn't a stationary vessel for the Coast Guard in Tobago.
Right.
And
that's one strike we have against us.
Right. You know, I remember the Chief Secretary would have made various calls, and I guess you know, various persons would have made various calls to have this type of operation here. In Trinidad, we have, and from sometimes in Tobago, you have a riverine unit, which is a marine branch of the Trinidad and Tobago Police. In years ago, that marine police would have been doing just what the Coast Guard is doing.
Okay.
Meaning that Coast Guard is really border protection, right? But they assist in the coastal
managing of these
coastal work, you know, because the marine branch back then would have been doing just this. Right. The law is clear what a uniform officer can do. It is clear as relates to where perpetrators.
Right. So we have a challenge,
yes,
because we do not have resident Coast Guard capacity.
Right.
And the riverine unit doesn't have a base per se in Tobago.
Correct,
so
correct,
we have that as an issue.
Yes. With the assets, with the relevant
assets.
Right. Yes.
Is there probably, well, either one of you may know better, is there the human resource? Because that what you addressed spoke of what happens on the water. Is there a way to intervene before the water?
So, what is a crime? You know, we have to identify what a crime is. In order to
but even before we get to crime, because what I'm trying to do is to work from the prevention side.
Right.
So do we have a system that says, okay, here's what? Let's say quarterly, we check everybody's registration, certification, see whether your inspections are up to date, because this can happen before a passenger sets foot on any of these craft, whether the jet skis or a reef boat. Do we have a system that works this way, where you do something like this periodic and say, you know what, you due for inspection, you can't operate until we have an inspection certificate? Do we have that?
If I can just come back a little, because we had, you know, Mr. Makuna spoke about the various committees. So currently, with the assistant of Mr. Alan Stewart, there was a committee in which we would have had some works going on the container down at Gibson Jetty, which is going to be a base for the same said police in terms of providing that relevant assets to Tobago to provide this assistance. What is happening right now is that they are currently a lot of money was spent in terms of T&Tech doing some stuff there, so that is actually been worked out. I suspect that given what is taking place now, that will now become a push to get it done, you know, because they had some procurement issues to get some stuff done. The police would have came, we would have identified some boats and stuff like that. So there is some stuff that has been done. As to the status of it, well, it's a whole other story. But there are some, but that is actually been put in place as we speak.
So there's something that has started.
Yeah.
So we have that, because one of the things I am thinking in terms of some level of prevention is these steps, because if you get on the water, basically it's a kind of run me down and catch me.
Yes.
You know? But if we can do something before that, then you know, we because I am really troubled over the fact that we have so many reports of what seems to be at least unsafe operations that we can't seem to harness. And probably if we can't catch them at sea, we can prevent them from getting to sea. And the risks are reduced if we do that. So there's that, because, you know, sometimes we'll ask, well, what do you want the THA to do? Well, the last time I checked, the THA was responsible for the beaches where primarily these activities start from. Buku, Pigeon Point, Storby. And probably it's not my job to be telling the THA what to do, but my thinking is this. If you can't guarantee that this is what it is, then you do operate from my beach full stop. But that's another
Well, it's very good that you mentioned that, because in the Chief Secretary mentioned in his, it was a press release, I believe it was yesterday, post-cabinet, post-executive council meeting. Now, when I saw his interview, and coming from him being the leader of, or the chief of the Chief Secretary and the head of the Executive Council, where he would have mentioned that the THA is a corporate entity, and that gives volumes, and I will tell you why it gives volume. And I'm speaking from a professional standpoint as relates to understanding, you know, port management and maritime issues, where he's correct. Meaning that if you want to operate in this space, they can create certain matrix in which various parties can adhere to or sign to if they want to operate in this space. And if they are found to be rogue, various disciplinary stuff, they can be sued, because it's a corporate entity. Pigeon Point and all these different things are constituted under a company in which if persons violate, they can now face some penalties.
And we have seen that in the past.
And people wanting to sue Pigeon Point Heritage Park or sue the Tobago House of Assembly. So with the introduction of a legal, the introduction of a legal division, that would now act as a buffer when these incidents happen and such unfortunate things or calamities may happen. That division has the sole responsibility of treating with the legal matters as it relates to these incidents. So that is a step in the right direction. One step.
It's interesting how quickly time goes by when you're having this. I suspect strongly that we'll have to have you back sometime in the not too distant future. But as we draw close to the end of the time we have for this discussion this morning, I think we've made some progress as to the first steps in terms of how we can or how we ought to operate, and certainly we can discuss at another time where we go in terms of enforcement priorities and procedures. But as we come to an end, your closing thoughts on where we can go and the way forward to prevent incidents of this nature.
Well, certainly we have a duty and responsibility as citizens of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, and also most importantly Tobago, to be cautious, to be courteous, and also to have a duty of care to those visiting our island and to ourselves. Secondly, enforcement. I cannot stress enough on how important this enforcement part is going forward, and also that Marine Parks Bill is something we need to unpack again soon, and that needs to be passed in Parliament as a matter of urgency.
What I would just end by saying is that the Assembly, which is the THA, the corporate body, based on the Chief Secretary's statement as relates to being able to sue and being able to stuff, it's a step in the right direction in which persons can now be held accountable. Once you affect them financially, you will see a decrease in this type of behavior. Normally if you see a police and you have on your seatbelt, you tend to grab it immediately, but it's a quite sad situation, and we definitely have to reach a point where this can never happen again. Yeah.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We were talking with Sean McCoon, Director of Environment Tobago, Ricardo Alfred, Marine Surveyor. Thank you again for joining us and for bringing some clarity at least to part of the challenges we face in our operations, and we certainly look forward to seeing you again where we can continue the discussion. Viewers, stay with us. We'll be back. When we come back, we're talking sport, we're talking Carifta Games. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Remember, during the break, share the live, share the live, share the live.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show.
Hop, hop, hip hooray, Easter money's on its way. Some bunny's getting a great rate today. Looking for a rate that's bright and sunny? Hop on down for some Easter money. 1% interest through and through, because we see you at BCU. Apply for a 1% Easter loan and let's hatch something great together. Hop, hop, hip hooray, Easter money's on its way.
Welcome to Tobago Glass Supplies Limited, where innovation meets excellence and the service reigns supreme. Our commitment is simple: to provide high-quality, innovative aluminum, vinyl, and glass solutions for both commercial and residential spaces. At TGSL, we don't just meet needs, we exceed expectations. Our range includes the finest aluminum cladding options, setting new standards in durability and style. Driven by our passion to elevate, we aim to be the leading supplier in the Caribbean market while retaining our identity as a family-owned business. Because at Tobago Glass Supplies Limited, it's not just about products. It's about relationships, it's about you. Innovation, quality, service. That's Tobago Glass Supplies Limited.
Trinidad, Tobago, and abroad, your chance to drive away in a brand new SUV is still on. The BHS Centennial Raffle has been extended to Thursday, 30th April 2026. And that's not all. Prizes include travel for two to Miami and Curacao, Tobago staycation, iPhones, computers, smart TVs, and more. Tickets still only $100. Get yours at selected outlets or at islandetickets.com. Details at bishopstobago100.com/raffle.
Baby, when you whine on me. Somebody get the phone, on the telephone. I get wet. I get wet. I get wet. I'm looking all through the party. I hope I find you there.
You're viewing Tobago Updates Television, your exclusive.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Viewers, welcome back, and thank you so much for tuned to Tobago Updates Television. It's Friday, 10th April. Where is the year going? It's running away like the Carifta athletes at Grenada, the 53rd Carifta Games in Grenada, where our athletes secured 35 medals. 10 better than last year, and we're still on the hype of Carifta Games. And of course, joining me in studio this morning, we have the president, or the chairman I should say, of Tobago Athletics, Sir Bishop. I told him that he has to come back once they would have achieved their goal of getting more than 30 medals. And I have a somewhat nervous athlete this morning, a very talented athlete, and he's here sitting telling me that he's very nervous, but he's very, very talented. Young Caleb Campbell out of Kaizen Panthers. Let me say good morning to you guys.
Hi, morning, Marcus.
Fantastic. You good? You good?
Yeah, good.
Fantastic. Because I mean, Tobago wants to hear from you, you know. I mean, how tall are you?
6'3", 6'4", around there.
You ever tried basketball?
Yeah, actually started doing basketball before I did track.
So what made the decision? What actually occurred to change your mind from basketball to track and field?
So basically, a coach saw me doing high jump for school sports, and yeah, that basically how I started.
What school do you attend?
Goodwood Secondary.
Goodwood Secondary. And then that transition has been successful for you thus far?
Yeah, very successful.
Okay, so Sekela, we're talking Carifta Games 2026, the 53rd Carifta Games in Grenada, where Trinidad and Tobago won 35 medals. And obviously, we like to big up our Tobago people. And out of the 35 medals, we had 15 medals. It is it, Tobago athletes, if you want to put it that way. Some are based in Tobago and some are currently studying in Jamaica. And of course, Caleb won bronze in the decathlon. Now, if you follow track and field, you know this is a mad event. What made you choose decathlon? Decathlon is what, 10 events over 2 days.
Yeah.
And you got bronze in the under 20 age group, right? So I want you to tell me, firstly, what made you choose decathlon as your event of choice, and we're going to talk about Grenada 2026.
Well, I saw a better opportunity for me to medal in the events other than the individual event that I used to do.
So what individual events you used to do?
I started off doing the high jump.
Just the high jump?
Yeah, just
and you realized that, watch me, I'm talented in a way. I could do long jump, I could do 110, I could do 1005, I could do 400, I could do all those events in 2 days.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So how does someone prepare for 10 events over 2 days?
A lot of training, you know, a lot of gym work. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about your bronze medal performance in Grenada.
My performance, I'm not too happy with my performance, but I can't be too hard on myself because, you know, I've been training. I want to say,
because you say that you're not too pleased. I mean, you had a goal set out.
Yeah, the plan was to basically, you know, trust the training, trust the coach, and execute to the best of my ability. Not all events went to. Not all of them went according to plan, but I was able to execute my best and come back with a medal.
So tell me about day one. Day one, you know, you had what?
Day one was
6 events?
5 events.
5 events, yes?
Yes, because it's 5 events a day. So I had the 100 first.
And what you did in the 100?
100, I ran 11 flat. The goal was to run below 11, but it was good enough to get points. I didn't do too well in the long jump as I expected. For the shot put, yeah, that went well. And high jump.
And this is your pet event?
This is my event. But it didn't go according to plan.
So you want to talk about that plan that didn't go together?
The plan was to jump over 2 meters, but I ended up jumping 194.
But the atmosphere, what? You didn't focus as it ought to be. What happened?
I didn't execute properly. Like I supposed to hold my knee drive when going over the bar and do sort of stuff. I didn't get that as.
So at the end of day one, what position were you in?
I was in second actually.
Second, right?
Yeah, my throws kind of messed me up, the javelin and the discus on day 2.
On day 2, and I mean, if you have to do this all over again, I mean, what difference you think they're gonna put to your performances?
I believe I'll be more focused. I'll be able to, you know, point out where I made my mistakes and better on it.
Fantastic. Let me come to Tobago Athletics chairman here. So before Carifta Games, we spoke about Tobago going to get 10 minutes. We're going to get 10 minutes out of all the, Trinidad and Tobago athletes. We're going to get 10 from Tobago. And we got 15. I mean, tell me what would have contributed to getting beyond 10.
Let me first of all make a correction. Individually, we got 11 medals.
Right, 11.
And you don't want to count the relays.
Okay.
But I mean, there were persons from Tobago who were part of the relays. So those were team medals, Team TTO, and all of them were Team TTO medals. But in terms of the Tobago athletes, we got 11 medals. Right. We had 3 of those from the homegrown athletes, the home-based athletes.
Tobago-based.
Caleb Kiori, I think she was here on Wednesday.
Yes.
And Jake won.
And Kiri, she was team captain.
She was the team captain as well. So good leadership skills coming out of Tobago, and even as the leader showing others how to follow.
Yeah.
And then we had those who are based in Jamaica, and then those who in the US.
Yes.
What I want to say, and remember I did say the last time that while we celebrate the 16, I don't think we should have had more persons on the team. I was always that
Tobago should have had more.
Tobago should have had more persons.
Okay.
But for varying reasons, we can't cry over spilt milk. It's a matter of what do we do from here on.
Yes.
While we want to celebrate and we want to do fanfare, we have to understand. Listen, this is not where we should be.
Yeah, and we're not separating Tobago from Trinidad.
No,
but obviously
and this is
yes.
Right. Our problems aren't indigenous and just for Tobago. There's a national problem that I think that we need to go past. But at the same time, we can't get too ahead of ourselves, because I was asking a couple of my colleagues, I said, when is the last time we ever come second in Carifta? When is the last time we have accumulated 35 or more medals? And it has been, we can see that the association as a whole has been putting things in place and ensuring that, we make strides, and it shouldn't stop at 35 medals next year. I think we should be very ambitious. Start a year in advance with our planning, even as Tobago, however it is, because we know that the situation is we do have a stadium. We know that now. And we're not going to have a stadium for the next track and field season. I can say that based on what is supposed to be done.
Yeah.
We're going to say 2027, we're going to be back to square one. What do? Are we going to complain the rest of the year? Well, we have things that we have to put in place.
And can you list some of those things that you want to see put in place from now until the next Carifta Games?
We need a certain level of commitment. You can't do anything without money. The Bible says money answers all things.
And when you say we are talking about the Tobago Athletics.
I'm talking about the Tobago,
you're talking about the clubs.
Tobago clubs, Tobago Athletics. We definitely need
the injection
funding. And I will talk about it again. From corporate Tobago.
Yes.
I'm talking to them first. I'm not talking to the government agency. The government agency, which is the THA, has to put policy, has to implement policies. There are policies already there. The implementation of those policies to ensure that the athletes are taken care of. As you can see, when Barbados landed back in the airport, the Honorable Mayamot didn't even wait. She capitalized on the moment, and then she rolled out a plan. Listen, we are going to put this amount of money into sport development in Barbados. I think it's the same thing that our government is supposed to do. Don't just run on the hype, but put things in place so that you could actually see the fruits of your labor.
So because just before the athletes from Tobago departed for the games, I saw an article where I'm not sure if each athlete or the parents were given, I think it's at $3,000 from the Tobago Assembly. And you are saying that you need more injection. Is it that you need the injection before the games? Or the $3,000 probably need to be more than 3,000? Tell me about that.
Whatever the support is, support cannot come in the form of bandwagon. Don't jump on after. We're not saying that you can't jump on after. But we're saying don't make a spectacle of it afterwards. Help was needed before, and we're saying the partnership can only be better if the athletes get the support up front. And I believe that the results can be better.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of athletes are disenfranchised for one reason or another due to socioeconomic reasons and whatever it is. And athletes need equipment. They need spikes. Athletes need to eat. Athletes need physiotherapy, therapists, right? So there are a number of things that need to be put in place in terms of conversation with those involved in the track and field fraternity to ensure that athletes have the best chance of success. And after this, it's not just about Carifta. The athletes themselves push on to go to university, colleges. Some may even turn pro. So it depends on the kind of impetus, the injection of whatever support that they have that, could determine the future of some of these athletes.
And I'm happy you raised that transition there from Carifta. What next? Because I had a conversation with someone and they were saying, that is just Carifta. But I mean, Usain Bolt passed through, Shelley and Fraser Price, all those superstars that you are seeing today, they pass through Carifta Games is actually like the feeder for international platforms. And we have seen it in Tobago where even a young Caleb we've seen them on television winning Carifta medals, and then we're not seeing them anymore. How can we keep our stars of today, the young ones? And how can we get them to transition into the international fraternity? Because they're going up to university. Some of them, we may use them to US and not come back here, and then they may go there and do their majors and not even study about track and field anymore. How do we keep them participating?
That is a tough question to answer because there are so many dynamics to that. If you look at the Jamaican system, we like to compare a lot, but people have to remember. Or people don't, right, so it's a matter of people don't know. They don't understand the working operations of a system like that. For example, you see a lot of people perform well at champs, their high school championships. Then you see them perform through Carifta. And then when you're looking for them at the senior level, Marcus, they're gone. Nowhere to be found. Some of them home in the rubbish, in the dustbin. And some of them get the opportunity to go to university. And what we need to do is to ensure that, sometimes they may get injured. Sometimes they get injured along the way. What we have to ensure is that these athletes get the best chance to stay on course and to stay motivated because different things happen with them. And to make sure that they stay on that road. And hopefully, because people have the hype about going to the Olympics. Yes, it's the pinnacle, but it's a lot of hard work, as Caleb said. To put your body through 10 events for 15 years, even from since he's 18, going on 19, and then you have to take another 10 years of that. That's pong. So you are to be motivated. Usain Bolt retired at what age?
I can't remember.
Early, because he was in his early 30s, and he actually said, "Listen, I can't take this anymore."
And if you see him now, he better be getting mine.
So I know people in their brains have the aspiration that the athlete should go to the Olympics. Man, it's hard work. Trust me, as a coach, you have to be thinking and keep on over and over. It's plenty hard work for the athletes.
We can have him join on the set, link him up. But we do have another athlete on the outside that we want to get in and talk, because we really want to celebrate the success of all our athletes. And I like to say Trinidad and Tobago here, because Mr. Surratt always saying, why you always forgetting to be pro TTO. But we are very proud of our athletes. And Caleb, one important aspect I think we always forget, and this last evening I attended a function for Nayon Ali, basketball coach of Compre, and I saw the support of the parents.
Yes.
And I want to bring your parents into the whole mix, because I attended Carifta Games in Bahamas, I think it was 2 years ago, and your parents, they're supporting you 100%. Tell me about the support of your parents and how important it is to you.
Well, the support from my parents is It's very important to me, They've been there from day one, supporting, providing for me. It's a wonderful feeling to have them there, Some at least wouldn't have their parents come to get to see them compete. So having my mother there, it's a good feeling.
So do you hear her voice in the stands like, come on, Caleb? And that actually motivates you. And Caleb, professionally, right? They like to marry academics with the sports. Is there a particular profession that you probably want to get into, or you see track and field as this is what you want to do for a career?
Yes, Going forward, I wanna go pro.
You want to go pro. So this is your last this was your last Carifta Games?
Yes, that was my last Carifta Games.
So what's next for Caleb?
What's next? Well, right now is to go back to the drawing board. Prepare for NACAC under 23 and under 18. It have Worlds under 20, so
fantastic.
Just go back and prepare.
Fantastic. It was easy, right? This was easy. So, viewers, we're going to take a short break. Right, Caleb, I want to really thank you for being here. So, we're going to keep you on, right? Thank you so much, Caleb, for being here. Congratulations on your performance. And even if it wasn't your best, it's still medal. And I think you made your parents, you made yourself proud. You could go to high school, Trinidad and Tobago proud, and I want to wish you all the best.
He actually going Scarborough now, eh?
I'll big up good still. Foundation, you have to big up good. So big up all the schools you have attended. And I really want to wish you all the best going forward. And I really hope to see you professionally, and we can share and big up Caleb Campbell, right? Thank you so much. Viewers, we're going to take a short break. We're going to come back with yet another athlete that would have excelled at Carifta Games 2026. Don't forget to share the live, share the live, share the live.
I think part of the problem we have, and this is not unique to cardiology, but this concept of checkup is going for review. So for example, women are probably better at, they have the mammogram, they have the pap smear, an older patient may have a schedule with a healthcare clinic. So a lot of people in their 30s and their 40s and their 50s don't think of our healthcare as being part of a proactive thing. So they're waiting for something to happen, then go to the doctor.
Be viewing Caribbean Medical TV on this station.
Hop, hop, hip hooray, Easter money's on its way. Some bunny's getting a great rate today. Looking for a rate that's bright and sunny? Hop on down for some Easter money. 1% interest through and through. Because we see you at BCU. Apply for a 1% Easter loan and let's hatch something great together. Hop, hop, hip hooray, Easter money's on its way.
Trinidad, Tobago and abroad, your chance to drive away in a brand new SUV is still on. The BHS Centennial Raffle has been extended to Thursday 30th April 2026. And that's not all. Prizes include travel for two to Miami and Curacao, Tobago staycation, iPhones, computers, smart TVs and more. Tickets still only $100. Get yours at selected outlets or at islandetickets.com. Details at bishopstobago100.com/raffle.
The Caribbean is more than just a place. It's a spirit, resilient, vibrant, and full of possibility. Rooted in connection, driven by community. It's who we are at the heart of everything we do. For over 150 years, we've been right here, invested in the Caribbean, its people, and its progress. And today, we're going even further. Liberty Business, rooted in the Caribbean, committed to you.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Hi viewers, welcome back, and thank you so much for staying tuned to Tobago Updates Television. Just have about 5 minutes again before I hand you over to Good Morning Tobago with Natalie, and I'm trying my very best not to get too much into her time. Yes, and I have another successful or young athlete with us here in studio. Excuse me. Young Jafari Edwards out of Club Mercury. Jafari, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Fantastic. And Jafari, you participated in Carifta 2026. You didn't actually medal, but you just got there. Finishing fourth in the under 17 Octaflon, right? Octaflon. Yes, that's it right there. Another difficult event. So we had the deck guy, that's Mr. Caleb, and we had the up guy. We have the up guy here talking this morning, and you got a fourth place, Mr. Edwards. Tell me about that performance. I mean, I'm sure you're probably disappointed to see all your friends going up there and receiving medals, and you just didn't get it. How that made you feel?
I was just disappointed, but I tried my best. Even though I had that injury, I still tried to execute my events and to do as best as I can.
Yeah. So let's talk about the days of your events and the first day. What events you did on the first day and how those events went, and then the second day.
On day one, I did 100. That was my first event.
Yeah.
Then we had long jump. Then we had, was javelin.
Yeah.
No, it was 400.
The first day was shot put.
Shot put and 400.
So out of those events, which is your comfort zone? Would you say?
Long jump.
Long jump, and that was on. This is on high jump. So this is your Edwards right here. And on day two.
Day two we had high jump, hurdles, 1500 and javelin.
So which of all 8 events would you consider your pet event?
Pets, javelin.
The one that you like. The one that you like.
What do you want to like?
Yeah, the one that
I
you
say
like.
high jump.
Yeah, like you say high jump, and how did you fare in the high jump?
I came first.
Yeah.
But it was an official record because my non-official record, which I get in school sports, was 190, but I jumped 184.
Yeah.
And placed first.
Oh, fantastic! And you believe that? I mean, had you not been injured, I mean, gold medal, sure.
Yeah.
Gold medal. And tell me about the chemistry of the team and how that made you feel. This was your first Carifta Games?
Yeah. First year, first Carifta.
First year, first Carifta Games. So tell me about the experience getting your first national call-up and representing Trinidad and Tobago.
It's a nice feeling. It was Better than last time because I had to prove myself that from when I never make NACAC last year, when I never get to go, I had to come back and prove myself again that I could make team and to just show what I'm capable of.
Yeah, which school you attend?
Bishop's High School.
Bishop High School. And which village you from?
Milford Court, Bonaccord.
From Bonaccord? Okay, you want to shout out to anybody from Milford Court?
Not really.
You know,
Joel Sampson.
Joel Sampson. We got Joel Sampson. That's not it?
Yeah.
We got Sampson one time. Okay. And tell me about your experience with Club Mercury and Coach Seren. You don't want to be afraid.
It's a nice experience. First time I ever saw Sir Bishop was on the mall when he saw me run up and down in.
Yeah, he saw talent. He saw talent.
Yeah, with my little sister. And he recruited me one time.
Yeah,
he asked me, my mother, and from just, that was quite in 2023, late 2022.
Okay. And so what's next for young Edwards going forward?
To hopefully we get through it on that 18 and on that 20 NACAC. That is June, July. And hopefully you'll see me at champs.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, and even if you didn't medal, right? I think a fourth place with an injury, outstanding stuff. And I'm hoping that your parents and your friends would have actually congratulated you on making your first Carifta Games and still coming forth regionally. And you have a number of years again to go. You're under 17.
Yeah.
Still have under 20 to go. He's under 20 right after this.
No, he's still under 17.
Still under 17. Still under 17. So I'm looking forward to hearing much more from you. And so when I realized coming out of the Carifta Games, a lot of athletes, they got their personal best and got some championship record as well. I mean, I saw team manager QQ Melville speaking about the entries would have actually lifted or raised the standard. And that would have people contributed.
I mean, a number of coaches last year would have complained that they thought that the standard had raised too high. I didn't agree with some of the coaches and their views. I thought that raising the standard would have raised the standard of the athletes, and it proved to the athletes, listen, and even the coaches themselves, listen, we have to dig deep, find the best practices to get our athletes to come up to the regional, to come up to the Jamaicans and the Bahamians and even at world level. Because as a result out of the Carifta Games, we have a number of athletes who now qualified for the world under 20 championships, and they are among top 5, top 10, and that sits well with us. I mean, it does well for the sport, and that in itself also let the other athletes who are coming up see that, listen, there is really an avenue with the sport in terms of that sort of regional and global exposure. And one of the things I want to also talk about exposure is that World Athletics for the first time stream the Carifta Games on their website.
Yes, I saw that. I actually saw that. That was really, really good.
So we saw Sebastian Coe, who's the president, he actually said that offers an opportunity now for the Caribbean region to be seen on an international basis. So
and then talking about that, next year I'm hearing talks of Trinidad and Tobago may be a host.
Yes, ourselves and St. Kitts are in the mix. A number of people are lobbying for St. Kitts.
I would love you to be the Trinidad and Tobago, right?
But we are lobbying to see if we can host it again. Because the 2028 has already been confirmed for Barbados.
Yes, Barbados, yes.
Yeah,
fantastic. I mean, we are out of time this morning, and I like to ask young men, especially doing good, whether it's sports or culture or entertainment, just to share a few words for colleagues like yourself, because we have some deviant behaviors for persons like your age group, right? What would you want to tell them, to change from their ways and try to do something positive? Because what you are doing is very positive, and I'm sure your friends in the community, hey, Jafari make a national team, I can make that too. What would you want to tell them?
To stay positive, do your best, and don't be discouraged. Stay encouraged, keep a positive mindset, and do your best.
Fantastic. So, any departing words, Aaron?
You know me, I will tell Corporate Tobago, listen, all jump on board, please, jump on board. The athletes need your support, not just Jafari, but there are others who are multi-talented, who are talented, and I'll lobby for all the sports here. Whatever their disciplines are, we need you all to get on board and support them in every way possible.
Yeah, fantastic. Guys, once again, I really want to commend the Trinidad and Tobago Carifta Team 2026 from the team management, the coaches, even the parents. You see that supporting cast that went to Grenada as well too. The people who organized that, I mean, I've always seen Miss Marcin Jack, a former secretary here in Tobago. She's always with that group. And I know, I mean, when they were in the crowd and you all got that energy from them, that's just always needed. And I think next year, whether it's in St. Kitts or in Trinidad, I'll be a part of that beating that drum or two supporting the athletes. You need that support. And we need that not only for track and field, but it can come for cricket, football, whatever sport it is. We need to get that support. And especially for the young ones. Again, congratulations to Team TTO. 35 medals, better than last year's 25. And hopefully next year we can get closer to those numbers where Jamaica put up there, 71 there. But we're getting there. So, Soren, again, thank you so much for being here this morning. Viewers, the end of the sporting segment this morning. I want to thank you so much for staying tuned. Up next, we have Natalie with Good Morning Tobago. Again, be safe on the roads. Going to see you again next week. But don't forget, share the live, share the live, share the live.
Parenting Skills program was conceptualized under the former Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection during the COVID-19 pandemic in an effort to provide parents and guardians with essential skills needed for nurturing their children. The program, now under the purview of the Division of Community Development and Social Protection's Therapeutic Counseling Unit, delivers a unique blend of practical and theoretical approaches, bringing people together from various walks of life.
I am with the Community Mediation Center, and we focused on the co-parenting workshop. So what that means simply is that there are two parents who are no longer together, but they share children, a child or children.
I really want to congratulate you for understanding that, you know what, I need better tools to equip myself. So that is why I applaud you here today. The thing about the philosophy of the authority, despite what the media may say, is that we prioritize the family environment and family reintegration. So it's as appropriate as best as possible. We try to take every step in building the family and the family capacity. So that's why the program here today is a prime example of that.
I am thankful because we as parents, as they say, we had to understand, we didn't know probably why did we come, what were we seeking for, and I learned a lot. And even when I thought I overshared, my counselor would tell me there are other people who would have learned something from me.
I don't know about you, but I feel elated walking into this room and seeing so much parents. Because what I saw a group of people committed to making that impact. I saw a group of people making up their minds that, in spite of the differences, we have something common. We want the best interest for this child.
All children are not geared for a classroom environment. So don't try to beat the living daylight of our. Have that conversation as young as, what do you like? When they're young, they're going to change. Fireman, policeman, army man, doctor, nurse. That is normal. That is them trying to find their footing. But if you have good parent and you have that kind of visual, you will see.
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
You're You're viewing Tobago Updates Television, your exclusive gateway to Tobago, broadcasting the beauty of this island paradise to the world.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome to GMT. Good morning, Tobago. I am your host, Natalie C.D. Richardson, and it is Friday, the 10th of April, 2026, and let's get right into our news in 90 seconds. Following the fatal jet ski incident involving 7-year-old Angelica Jogi, Chief Secretary Fali Augustine is promising a total overhaul of marine operations. In a fiery post-cabinet briefing, Augustine told what he called lawless operators to pack up your boat and let them dry rot if they cannot follow safety protocols. He emphasized that he no longer cares about complaints from stakeholders who ignore the rules, stating that the time for talk is over. Former Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley says he is personally touched and devastated by the tragedy, noting that his own grandchildren were frolicking in that same bathing area just days prior. The former Prime Minister slammed the current rope barriers as mere hope rather than a deterrent. He is now calling on the Tobago House of Assembly to institute and enforce a total ban on jet skis at or near main bathing beaches like Pigeon Point, stating that millions paid in legal liability is no substitute for a loss of life. Finally, in political news, the PNM Tobago Council's internal election has been rescheduled. Originally scheduled for mid-April, the new date for the polls is now set for April 26th. Nominations are scheduled for today and tomorrow, and political leader candidate Kelvon Morris has confirmed that he will be submitting his nomination later today. And that was your news in 90 seconds. Of course, tune in again at 6:30 p.m. for a full newscast. And at this time, we take a quick break, and when we return, we meet our first set of guests for GMT this morning.
Welcome to Tobago Glass Supplies Limited, where innovation meets excellence and the service reigns supreme. Our commitment is simple: to provide high-quality, innovative aluminum, vinyl, and glass solutions for both commercial and residential spaces. At TGSL, we don't just meet needs, we exceed expectations. Our range includes the finest aluminum cladding options, setting new standards in durability and style. Driven by our passion to elevate, we aim to be the leading supplier in the Caribbean market while retaining our identity as a family-owned business. Because at Tobago Glass Supplies Limited, it's not just about products. It's about relationships. It's about you. Innovation, quality, service. That's Tobago Glass Supplies Limited.
Baby, when you whine on me. Somebody get the phone, go the telephone. I get wet. I get wet. I get wet. I'm looking all through the party. I hope I find you there.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back, viewers, and thank you for staying with us this morning. Our first set of guests, let me introduce them to you. They are joining us virtually this morning. Sherry Macmillan, who's the Executive Officer, Corporate Communications of the Telecommunications Authority of Trinidad and Tobago, and Ian Williams, who is the CEO of the Tobago Information Technology Limited. Good morning to both of you, and welcome to GMT.
Good morning. Good morning to you, viewers.
And of course, I want to start with Ms. Macmillan. Just for the benefit of our viewers, tell us a little bit about the Telecommunications Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. And then, Mr. Williams, I'm jumping to you to tell us about the Tobago Information Technology Limited. So, Ms. Macmillan. All right, so I think we're not hearing you, Ms. Macmillan. So while we get that sorted out, let me go to Mr. Williams. And if you can just, for the benefit of our viewers, Mr. Williams, tell us a little bit about the Tobago Information Technology Limited.
Definitely. So Tobago Information Technology is a special purpose company under the Tobago House of Assembly. It is responsible for the trust in terms of digital transformation and also the digital human capital development, of persons on the island towards a digital future. The company also has under its portfolio a number of diverse offerings, such as its contact center, which is a hub for communication here in Tobago, and training relevant to ICT and even outside of the ICT sector.
And I know many of us who live in Tobago, we're quite familiar with that building in Signal Hill, but are there other centers throughout the island?
Yes. So what we do, we work closely with community development with regards to using the community centers, etc. We have a partnership with them where within these centers, you will have these computer IT literacy centers, which operate pretty much like internet cafes, if you will. Mm-hmm. But first and foremost, it's free of charge. And beyond free of charge, TITL offers and hits the road more or less with its diverse offering of training, ICT and otherwise. So we take that training to all parts of Tobago, and it's geared for all ages, from youths all the way up to elderly. We have offerings to fit everyone.
Okay, let's invite Ms. Macmillan back and see if we have that audio going as she tells us a bit about TAT. All right, so I'm not sure. I think we may have lost her. So let's continue while we get that. Oh, there she is.
Nice.
Okay, so we're still having a little problem, but we'll get sorted out because we definitely want to hear what Ms. Macmillan has to share this morning. So let me continue talking to Mr. Williams. You know, there's a program coming up, and I know we'll get more information from Ms. Macmillan, and it's called Tech for Girls. Now, when we look at Tobago and we talk about Tech for Girls, you know, girls gives me an idea of a certain age group. Are we talking about girls and women, or are we just talking about girls? Give us the age group that this program is targeting.
Well, it is geared towards girls, but also, you know, it involves women. And what I want to do is allow Sherry to get the dynamics in terms of the actual age groups and so on. But let me just say from the standpoint that Tech for Girls is something that TITL has supported over the years, and it helps reinforce our commitment in terms of inclusive digital participation. We know more and more in the ICT sector, it has been over the years dominated by men. That is starting to shift, and shift because of programs such as this, all right, ensuring that girls as well as young women, they are active contributors, all right, and not just observers in IT, etc. Because and this program also, it pretty much aligns with the mission and vision of TITL, which I mentioned before, to expand digital access and skills throughout the island, reduce opportunity gaps, because every sector that we knew 10, 15 years ago now is infused with ICT. So we have to ensure that we create those opportunity gaps and expose everyone, even our women and young women and girls, to all the new emerging technologies, the AI and the cybersecurity, all these buzz topics that are trending worldwide from a technology perspective.
And I heard you mention the organization support for this program, and I think we have Ms. Macmillan, so let me jump back to Ms. Macmillan and get her started. So welcome again, Ms. Macmillan. I trust that we will be able to hear you now. Yes?
Good morning. Are you hearing me now?
Definitely loud and clear.
Right. So I went out and came back into the
right. And let me again, you know, as I asked for the benefit of our viewers, tell us a little bit about TAT and it, you know, what it does, so that people can have a better understanding of this institution.
So the Telecommunications Authority of Trinidad and Tobago is the regulatory body for telecoms, all your telephones, fixed and mobile, all your broadband, internet services, all your cable services, for broadcasting services like your free-to-air television and all of that. We are the persons who have worked towards liberalizing the sector, so we have more and more operators in the market giving you choice and that kind of thing. And if you have a problem, then the easy answer is complain to your operator and then call 800-TAT if you're not getting a resolution to your complaint. And that 800-TAT is 800-8288. So what most people know us for is that if they have a challenge with their telephone or broadband services and so on, they call 800-TAT.
All right,
we have an office in Shop 34, B34 in Tobago.
Right. And of course, let's get into Tech for Girls. Now, this is an initiative that TAT has been involved in. What's the main focus for 2026?
Well, Tech for Girls is part of the overall ITU, our contribution to the International Telecommunications Union Girls in ICT Day program, which is celebrated globally every year across on the fourth Thursday of April. Now, this year, what we want to do is we're talking make AI work for you, because everybody's talking AI, but some people just don't know how to use it or how to make it work for you well. You ask questions, right questions.
Okay, so I think we have lost some connectivity there. How ironic we're going through this for this type of interview. But Mr. Williams, we're talking about Tobago and the benefit of this program for our girls and young women. How important is it for them to be exposed to AI and the understanding of AI, and not just AI on its own, but in terms of branding and marketing?
Well, first and foremost, I say to everyone that AI really unlocks almost unlimited possibilities. Think of it, and we always have to say it, and I do say it from time to time, that technology helps us transcend geography. Tobago is 116 and a relatively small population in terms of what the world and other opportunities. So what this does is this course on AI and telecom on a whole, it opens remote work opportunities. It then opens your mind now. Take your business to another level. Let's move this online. I've been creating content for years, brick by brick, step by step. It takes me a week to push, get my digital influence out there. AI can now assist me to hit the market with some of these things within minutes. All right. And this on a broader scale will enable Tobagonians to become and compete globally. All right, because technology does that. It does not just allow us to think within the confines of local. We can create the best here for the entire world. All right, and generally the AI, and along with this program and what TITL can do and all the other partners are looking to do, is empower young women. This also beyond the technology, helps with confidence, independence, the ability to turn this into a holistic career.
Now, for those who are able to hear this interview and are now interested in either becoming a participant or maybe getting someone they know to be involved, how can they register for this program?
They can register by looking at the social media front for both TAT, the Telecommunications Authority, as well as Tobago Information Technology. All right, registration is still open. We are glad to have you there. As we said, the theme is making AI work for you, and we want the young girls, women within the island, within the country, to come out, be empowered by the very powerful team that all the partners have put together to ensure that you can make AI work for you and take it to another level.
And do you have the dates of that 2-day workshop?
Yes, I can give you some dates for that 2-day workshop in the absence of Sherry. Just giving you from the flyer, so I'll ensure that it's pretty accurate.
Sure.
All right. So Tech for Girls. All right. It kicks off on the 11th of April. All right. All the partners, as I mentioned before, TAT, Cantu, Flow, Verizon. We also have the Minister of Public Administration, Artificial Intelligence. All of these personnel will be out supporting the event. All right. It kicks off the actual working day. It starts at 10 a.m. and goes all the way to 2:55 in the afternoon, where we teach different stuff such as digital influence and AI and awareness. Day 2, which is the 18th, the following Saturday, we focus on leadership, branding, and digital marketing labs. So that's one of the things. Once persons come and partake in this, they leave with skills as well as something tangible coming out of their time spent within these workshops.
All right, Ms. McMillan, in the few minutes that we have left, tell us the age group this is targeting and a little bit about the presenters that the participants would be exposed to.
So are you getting the audio now? I've switched to my phone.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So we are targeting young from 18 and over. And we never put a limit on over. We have persons who are retired and starting a new business and all kinds of things who just want to know how to do whatever we're training in for the particular year. So the unique have is if you are 14 to 18, you'd need parental consent. Beyond that, because once you fall in that child category. We're going to have parental consent for you to do the program. But beyond that, it's 14 and over. Abby Knowles, first speaker, a former Verizon person. She now works for ASK Tech Works, and she's really a global leader. She's a Jamaican by person. She's going to be talking about leadership, confidence building, communication, presence, and all of that in the age of AI. We have Shelly Ann Acqui, an award-winning entrepreneur and founder of Positioned to Propel Success Academy, who will be delivering practical branding and digital marketing strategies to help participants build visibility and create real opportunities online. And Anu Bissessa, a mindfulness psychologist and mental health person for when you're online too much, and to talk to you to manage your online presence. And then we have another local NGO resource, Restore a Sense of ICANN, Raj Ramdas, who will be working with them, handling the platform, keeping the girls connected and all of those things. So there's a mix of persons doing various things on these 2 days.
And I must ask you, how do you get persons to be motivated year after year to be a part of this and to expose themselves to the various topics that you are presenting through your organization?
The thing is, everybody wants to learn something. We've done various things over time. We've done how to build a website, how to brand your website. We've done podcasting. We've done a mix of all kinds of things over the years. And what we've seen is the program grew from about 100 persons. Last year, we were 400 and something. So far, we have just over 500 registered. They think we're making 1,000 this year. Not sure. But we're hoping we get as many as we can. And we have worked with our partners. And I always like to talk about the partners. Tittle is one of our partners. We also have Canto. We have Restore a Sense of ICANN, I just spoke about. We have Verizon, GSMA. We have Equals Partnership in the UK. These are agencies that contribute towards training young women. And because the programs are really very good programs, they always get good parties. Some people come back for the new area we could be training in. Other persons hear about it and come on. I remember one year we only promoted for 1 week, and within 2 days the limit that we intended to train was full. So I think people are motivated naturally. The women are motivated, and they come out.
All right.
So AI work for you. Register.
So definitely something to be a part of, and this workshop, you know, it's coming right to you, those of you who are here in Tobago. So take advantage of it, and you can register still. And if you go to the social media pages of TAC, that is the Telecommunications Authority of Trinidad and Tobago, you will find information.
TITL also.
Yes, and of course, if you visit TITLs as well. So thank you so much for sharing with us. Again, quite a relevant topic and to be exposed to. And it is for all those 14 and over. So don't think you're at the age where learning has stopped and this is not for you. This is for you. So take advantage of all the awesome presenters and the information coming to you. So thank you so much for having this initiative and also in making sure Tobago benefits from something like this. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Viewers, we go for a quick break, and when we return, we continue with another guest this morning, Sheridan Peters, who is from the fire prevention section of our fire services here in Trinidad and Tobago. And we're talking about fire safety, something very important to all of us. So stay tuned.
Nice.
If I have to call a supervisor one more time to sign off on a customer because their financials are in a mess, I will scream.
Don't scream in a bank. That have lock up in it.
It's either they're not registered properly, or you know what? We could just forget about annual returns, right?
Compliance is a bad word to most of them. Pull your compliance out of here. But let me eat.
What is wrong with Trinbagonians? I mean, it has so much help they could get out there.
Well, you know, Trinis, we don't like to spend we money.
But you know what? Be comfortable with losing we money. That make it any financial sense.
What people should do is call Anderson in Trinidad and Tobago.
Wait, what? Anderson in Trinidad and Tobago?
Anderson in Trinidad and Tobago Tax and Accounting Services. Yeah, they offer helping from registering your business to filing your tax. My lunch is over.
Wait, tell me more.
No, go and scream in the bank. You go and scream in the bank.
No, Antoine, don't get one sooner.
Who said the elderly can't have fun too? We're talking good food, proper music, lots of games, and a day at the beach they will never forget. From the time we left the compound at Heavenly Care Home for the Elderly, the vibe was already established. Wheels up and seatbelts on. Watch now, when we touched down in Pigeon Point, everybody was ready for excitement. But before anything could take place, we had to secure our bellies. You ever play bingo by the beachside? Well, that was the first activity on the roster, and boy did these seniors have fun. However, others wanted something more physical, so we brought out the ring toss, and not even arthritis could have stopped them. Well, I was blown away at how straight these people were. Are you sure this is a home for the elderly? Nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday, but nothing beats the song of Good Steel Pan by the shores while we take a dip in Tobago's finest water. Wait, more food again? This is my type of event. The energy was amazing and nothing short of a blessing. Pick up Heavenly Care Home for the Elderly, because joy doesn't retire, laughter doesn't age, and memories like these last forever.
To a stranger,
Hop, hop, hip hooray, Easter money's on its way. Some bunny's getting a great rate today. Looking for a rate that's bright and sunny? Hop on down for some Easter money. 1% interest through and through, because we see you at BCU. Apply for a 1% Easter loan and let's hatch something great together. Hop, hop, hip hooray, Easter money's on its way.
Our world is filled with rhythm. Rhythm that's unapologetic, infectious, timeless. Rhythm is commitment in action. It's how we show up for each other with unrelenting support that goes the distance. Rhythm lives in the tiny beats of our most intimate moments and the seismic roars of our biggest achievements. Rhythm is resilience in motion. So even when things go out of sync, we do what it takes to bring the rhythm back. At Flow, we understand your rhythm because we live it. That's why we're dedicated to building a network as resilient as you, with a team of familiar faces working every day to keep you on beat. You're at the heart of everything we do, and our commitment is to keep your rhythm flowing, no matter what.
Hi everyone, I'm Marissa Benin. Coming up, Jamaica, here we come. These women of vision are on a mission. Ride the waves and savor the flavor, otherwise known as spending quality time in Antigua and Barbuda. Fun times, plus the food that sets St. Kitts and Nevis apart, all available under one roof. Cue the entertainment and the food. It's Chinese Spring Festival time. It's all next on this station.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back, viewers, and thank you for staying with us. If you are now joining me this morning, I'm Natalie Seeley Richardson, your host for GMT Good Morning Tobago, and joining me in studio is Sheridan Peters, Fire Station Officer from the Fire Prevention Section. Good morning, sir, and welcome.
Yeah, good morning, Natalie. And
No stranger to us here on GMT or Tobago Updates Television.
Yeah, good to be here again, yeah.
Excellent. And this morning we want to talk about, of course, fire safety, fire prevention, and look at our children. We know that for some reason, fire is exciting to the children. It attracts them. They're curious. They want to know how to get it started, how to get it going, and they would learn different safety measures from their parents, from shows they see online and even within their schools. And I want to ask, when I was a child, I was taught, the stop, drop, and roll. Is that still being taught to our children today? And can you share with us other lessons we can teach our children in terms of, that thinking as soon as you're in that danger that has maybe the same impact as the stop, drop, roll?
Okay. Right, morning again to Tobago. And stop, drop, and roll is still very much applicable to firefighting or response in terms of if you become engulfed or a flame becomes a part of you. Stop, drop, and roll is still a very applicable method of responding to it, right? And it is something that we should teach our children as well. So if you just run all over the place, what will happen? The fire will tend to, it would flare a little more, right? Because oxygen stimulates the fire a little bit more, right? So running freely through the around the place would cause it. So that's why they encourage you to stop, drop, and roll. That will help to smother the fire a bit, right, and extinguish it, right? Basically, however, in terms of treating with fires, right, in the home and in other, in the home, let's talk directly in the home in particular. Right, we encourage persons, as we have said before, to have a plan in the event of a fire. So what will happen is that in the event that some part of your house at some point in the day or the night becomes engulfed in flames, you as a family should have an idea what to do, where you would assemble, right? What points, if your front door becomes compromised, where are the other routes, who would be able to check to make sure all the children are out, they're not hiding below any beds and these type of things, because children sometimes, according to the age, their quickest response may be to go and hide in a cupboard. And I'm glad you raised that, because when children are scared or unsure, retreat, their body and their brain is programmed to flee, and they really would hide. How can parents, you mentioned having a plan, and I think many of us have a plan, but do we practice it? How important should we now to practice, and how often should we practice these plans we may discuss with our children? But ever so often, I don't think there's a particular time frame, but ever so often, you could talk it through with your family, maybe walk it through. Right. Just make a little simulation. There's a fire, simulate where there's a fire, and they say, what are we going to do? And have the children walk it through. Because what's happening? Children are a lot more intelligent than we sometimes accredit them for. Right. Right. And sometimes, we just have to give them the opportunity and continue to reinforce the information. And most likely, right, they will be able to treat with it in a particular, but also the adults have to make sure that they take responsibility for them as well. In the event of an emergency, you have to, just make a little sweep. Depends on how the nature of the incident, make a little sweep through the area to make sure that they're not hiding below the bed or anything, and evacuate. In the event that you are outside and there's a fire inside, very often we tend to try to save valuables and these kind of things. Yes. Right? Sometimes, you have a pet, you have some kind of, some things, your jewelry, something that means a lot. You have a pile of money below your mattress, and you want to save it. You try to avoid, life is always more important than these tangibles. So we stay on the outside until we can get the professional assistance of the fire service to re-enter the fire.
What are some of the most common fire hazards you have seen at home that a parent may have missed? Or not, think of it like, okay, I shouldn't have this here or do this because it can cause a fire?
I mean, when treating with children,
yeah,
or
when
in
treating
general,
with children. I want us to focus on children in particular.
Right. Right. Well, I think.
So, and before you answer, let me give you an example. So, you know, we have a lot of festivities in Trinidad and Tobago, a lot of multicultural holidays. So, you have starlights, you have firecrackers, you know, things that cause excitement for children. And innocently, a parent may buy a pack of starlight and just rest it there on the kitchen counter, may forget about it, or just leave it there where a child can reach. You know, things that we may do and not really realize what we're doing as parents. We take it for granted.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, I mean, in the festive season, you know, we tend to go a little extra with these things, you know.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, these things, we need to ensure that they are out of the reach of children.
Right.
Right. And it doesn't mean that your children may not be able to engage in some of these activities today, but they must engage in a controlled or supervised manner. Right? So you definitely need to put these things in a place that the child cannot just go and pick it up. The same way, well, we all know about matches and lighters. And we just want to reiterate the point. You know, as you see, children are very, they are somehow amused by fire, you know, and these kind of things as we started the conversation with.
Yes.
You know, so these things, you know, you introduce it to them, you know, as they get mature in a certain way, but you have to make sure that it's in a way that you can supervise it, that they don't have ready access to these things that can possibly cause. So, you know, as you mentioned, you know, all these little fireworks and all these things, you keep them in a place that is accessible to adults and not accessible to children in a certain type of way.
Mm-hmm. I know recently there was some reports of a fire, I think, Bell Garden area.
Right.
And the report said it would have involved a special needs child. How equipped is the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service to deal with responding to a fire and now having to deal with a child who may not hear, a child who may not understand instructions to come out from where they are? Is there specific training given to prepare our fire officers to deal with special needs children, or just special needs, be it a child or an adult, when responding to a fire?
Okay. Well, interestingly, we are currently trying to forge, well, at the fire prevention section in particular,
right,
we're trying to forge a relationship with the special needs community in Tobago. We had previous meetings,
right,
and we are supposed to engage in some more meetings for them to provide some level of information and training for us on the different types of special needs within the community, and in ways that we can interact with them in terms of, well, we were more looking at in terms of training and awareness, and we recommend fire safety measures. So, you know, they will have different, based on the type of special needs, they would have different responses to different stimuli. So, like, loud noises may stimulate certain negative reactions in some.
Yeah.
Blinking lights may stimulate certain reactions in some, you know, and some may not be able to follow directions or in different ways. So right now we are in the process of having conversations with the special needs community so that we can, as the fire prevention section in particular, be a little more aware of how we can treat it. And we hope that we can have the conversation with the public as well in how they also can treat with special needs persons in the event of emergencies, because you may actually be witnessing something happening, and you may observe somebody with a particular level of confusion, and you know, sometimes we may tend to, what's going on with him, why is this, you know, but not understanding that the person may have a special need.
Yeah.
And in the particular situation, they may get overwhelmed and overstimulated by whatever, by the nature of the emergency, by the loud noises, by the lights, you know, by the amount of persons coming around, you know.
Yes.
So we as a population also need to be aware that in particular emergencies that you may have to offer a little extra assistance. But we as a fire service in particular, I will say that we have not been exposed to particular training in terms of fire response. But I mean, in the event of an emergency, we will do our best to save whoever we can to the best of our ability. But as you indicated, maybe we also realize the fact that we need a little more specific understanding, so we'll be able to treat with them a little more specifically to their needs.
And as you share that, I'm even thinking how important it is for a community to know
who lives in the area.
Okay,
because
yes,
obviously if you are responding, your team is responding to a fire, a neighbor can say, you know, there are 3 children in the house,
Right.
or 3 young children or a baby. So it also gives you that kind of guidance going
Right.
in to do a rescue.
Right.
They may tell you there's a senior person who can't hear.
Correct.
You know, that kind of thing. So even as villagers, as residents, we too have a part to play in terms of understanding who we live amongst, understanding if there are limitations, how you can provide information for first responders so that, you know, we could hopefully have a positive turnout. Looking again at just fire prevention in general, we're speaking about children, but I want us just to broaden to all of us because all of us are impacted. What are some general things we should look out for, be it in our workplace or our home? You know, sometimes I go to get fuel at the gas station and I see certain things and I'm like, they don't know what they're doing, you know. What are things we should be aware of that we may take for granted?
Well, it's a very broad scope. Eh?
Yes. So just
but I'll try to now summarize it. There are different considerations for different types of what we would call occupancies.
Right.
So like you'll have the business place, you'll have like a restaurant, you'll have like, as you mentioned, the gas station, you'll have the homes, hotels, and these type of things. In general, what we would look at some of the basic things you could look at. What fire safety, what fire protection is available? Do you have like an extinguisher available? So do you have like smoke detectors? So when you walk into your business place, do you have like smoke detectors? And we do inspections of business places for a certain level of compliance. Not because we want to harass the business people, but we want to make sure in the event of any occurrence, right, that persons have a certain level of fire protection. So we have like the fire alarm systems, right, that would be installed in these places. So in the event of an emergency in some confined area, the entire building would be alerted and it wouldn't have to wait until, you know, the fire has, you know, erupted to such an extent that some persons get trapped in some kind of obscure area and unable to leave. So these things are like important elements. Even the exit route. So sometimes you have exit routes compromised. You have the route. But you know, sometimes in Tobago, nobody using the, you know, pack up a couple boxes.
Right. So let's stick up in right there. Let's stick up in right there. You're touching a very sensitive issue there. Because you see, and I want to talk about the use of the roadways. Now, for a fire tender to pass on a certain road, it needs this space. I would have seen people parking vehicles, those who have garages, and I'm not against anybody running their business, but a lot of people, their business spills out into the roadway. So they have there's a garage doing work on vehicles, and it's about 6-7 vehicles. It can't fit in the garage, and they park it on the road. I have witnessed where an ambulance would have been obstructed. I have witnessed where the fire tender has to wait and they have to call this one, move this vehicle. You know, how, and we're talking about fire prevention. So many of us think about the item that will start the fire. But what about the things or issues that hinder now the first responders
from arriving to the... Yeah, that's also a very serious consideration, and we find it a problem in Tobago. As you mentioned, it is very common. Persons find it convenient, right? Making a little hustle, or sometimes even just the living arrangements.
Yeah.
What would have happened is sometimes some streets are just naturally narrow.
Right.
Right. Persons may
need to park.
They may park, and it encumbers the natural flow of that type of traffic. Right. But I just want to encourage persons to have that level of awareness. Right, so that they can, you know, even if you have to park in the roadway and ensure there is adequate, make enough space as possible, as practical, you know, because you know the trucks are large and you know access is very important. Right, it's one of the considerations they do when they look at, you know, how they make recommendations for buildings, commercial buildings, access and this type of thing, because it's very important. Yeah.
And do you go around to schools still and expose our children, you know, to safety practices, just teaching them to be aware of the environment where safety is concerned?
Well, yes, we do. We have many levels of Unfortunately, our resources are not as adequate as you'd like it to, but we really do our best to reach out to schools, different institutions within the community may request our services, and we also make it our business to do a lot of public awareness on the ground. We do a lot of lectures with businesses, schools, and that type of thing, so that persons are made a little more aware. And now we're trying to be a little bit more present in the media,
right,
so that the general population with Public of Tobago would be a little more, aware and reminded. Because sometimes we don't necessarily need, we have the information already, but sometimes we just need to be reminded of what needs to be done in a certain type of way.
Quite true. And if there's a principal, a parent, a member of a village council who is listening to this interview, and it has just dawned on them, I've never exposed my community, my children to this type of information, how can they get onto your unit to come and do some demonstrations at school or for their community?
Right. So they can contact the administrative building at Scarborough, right? They can send an email, a request, or they can bring it in person to the administrative building, requesting, address it to the Assistant Chief Fire Officer Tobago, and we will consider the request. If you made a specific time based on our availability, we'll try our best to keep the time, and we really try to make ourselves available in different ways to meet the information need as far as facility is concerned. So you can contact the administrative building at 639-4944, right? And they would give you the necessary guidance as to how you can make your request formally.
You mentioned the importance of having fire extinguishers, smoke detectors. Are these instruments built into law, or is it up to the individual to decide, for safety's sake, I need to have this at my home?
Well, there are two layers, right? In your private home, there's not a law mandating that you do, but we do strongly recommend that persons have this practice because it can really provide a certain level of protection for you and for your property, right? Because in the event of an emergency, you have a smoke detector somewhere in your storeroom, your washroom,
right,
downstairs, and you upstairs sleeping. Once it activates, chances are in the middle of the night you would hear it.
Right.
You have a extinguisher at your home. In the event that something occurs, you can use your extinguisher to deal with the fire before it gets too chaotic. You have to go and call the neighbors, go and run outside, get a bucket. You can't remember how the bucket is. You have no water in the pipe. And that's the type of thing. Have a couple extinguishers at your home, upstairs, downstairs, in the kitchen. Strategically located. So in the event of an emergency, it's strongly recommended. However, within the business community, right, according to the OSH Act, right, they are mandated to meet the requirements that is recommended by the fire authority. Right, and we have certain requirements that we would recommend to the different business communities. Depends on the level of risk.
Right.
And that type of thing, the level of the type of occupancy that you have. Right? So yes and no.
Right, got you. and when I think of the importance of life, and you mentioned it earlier, sometimes when there's a fire or some emergency, our brain is wired to go grab something, save something, and we run into the danger instead of staying out, because in our mind we have to get that. But our life is so important that we shouldn't wait for a law to state,
correct,
how to protect your home, how to protect your family. So I would encourage you viewers, you may have thought about it, you may have had conversations about it, but now it's time to act. Our living arrangements on the island has changed, and it continues to change. We are no longer single homes in a big yard, but you have multiple dwelling homes. You have a lot of apartment buildings. You might be a safety person and aware of this, but the person in the apartment next to you, really doesn't pay attention to much. So if their apartment catches fire, chances are the next one is the one right next to it,
Well, yes.
So, have conversations with your neighbors. You'll come together, have a plan of action. many times we take a lot of these things for granted, and only when it happens we think about what we should have done. And we have the support of our fire officers. Tobago is small. People are always usually very accessible. Pass by, ask a question or two, you know. There are a lot of safety stores around on the island as well. Go get yourself a fire extinguisher. We talk about it, but many times we don't do it. Within recent times as well, Sheridan, I've noticed a lot of vehicles catching fire. You pass it sometimes early morning, late night, park up on the road, and I don't know if the fire services has been able to come to any conclusion or investigate what may have been causing this, because it seems to be more often now where these things are happening. Any comment there, or as drivers even talking about fire safety, because it's not just in our homes or buildings, but we're driving vehicles and a lot of vehicles on the road. What happens if you realize your vehicle is on fire and you're somewhere by Signal Hill traffic lights?
Again, it comes back to the same recommendation for your home. Have a fire extinguisher.
Right.
All right. There are extinguishers that can be mounted in your vehicle as well. All right. In the event that you have some sort of mechanical or electrical issue, which does occur. Sometimes you're driving down the road and all of a sudden you see smoke emitting from your below the hood.
Mm-hmm.
Some sort of electrical or mechanical issue would have caused the fire. Right. If you're not prepared, chances are, by the time the fire service reach, it will just be a shell.
Right, yeah.
Right, because fire, the rate at which, remember, there's a lot of oils and gasoline and all these things that would, and even, that would propel the fire even faster. So, equip yourself with encourage persons to equip their vehicle with a fire extinguisher. So in the event that there is some sort of ignition, right. Also, one of the things that if you having a fire that is electrical in nature, you should immediately disconnect your battery.
Okay.
Right. It's one of the things that we practice as well. We disconnect once we go to any vehicular incidents. You may have some sort of shorting. We immediately disconnect the batteries, and it's a good practice for the public as well. Once you observe any sort of fire, right, emitting from your vehicle due to mechanical or electrical failure, disconnect the battery. That chances are that would help to mitigate the source.
Okay.
Right? A fire extinguisher now would extinguish the fire itself. Right? So, yeah, that's it.
And you know, there's so much for us to really learn, because even if, you know, you have different types of fires and how you would respond to it. You mentioned in the vehicle, you know, to make sure the battery is disconnected. Even for those who are cooking, you know, sometimes, especially in big restaurants or even just in your home, something careless happens, you make a mistake, there might be a grease fire, and sometimes people's instinct is to go get water. You know, so I think also just understanding how to deal with different types of incidents can help you mitigate or lessen the impact of something that can be, you know, really negative.
But if I could go back a bit, right?
Yes.
I remember last year we had a campaign with lithium-ion batteries, right? What I did not mention with the vehicle fires, we have an inflow of electrical vehicles, which poses a different type of challenge to the regular gasoline vehicles.
Right.
Right. Most of these vehicles are outfitted with lithium-ion batteries, which is very volatile when it's involved in a fire. Right, so once your vehicle becomes engulfed in a certain way, ensure you keep a safe distance. Do not attempt to extinguish it. Right?
And I hope you are
save yourself
yes.
and your life. The vehicles, the lithium-ion batteries are very, very volatile. Once they have been involved in a certain amount of fire, sometimes the fire may not even have ignited the battery, but once it has exposed a certain amount of heat,
right,
it becomes very, very hazardous. Right, so that's also a consideration. Again, reiterating from the campaign last year with the lithium-ion batteries Fire Safety Week, right, that we need to consider that as well.
Right, and as we wrap up here, I want you to, you know, I want us to go back to the safety of our children and thinking of them. We're now coming out of a 2-week vacation period for them. The July-August vacation is coming. We have long weekends, and again, you know, sometimes they get bored. They are children, and then they start to go through the house and they find things. They go in the yard and they explore, and you know, if you have some adventurous ones like me, you know, sometimes you wonder how on earth they came up with that idea to do that. You know, so how, to the parent who isn't sure where to start the conversation, and to the parent who might be laid back and say, I'd have to talk to my children about that happening here. How would you encourage them to have this conversation, have a plan of action, and ever so often, actually have that drill?
Right. Well, one of the things you realize that children are a lot more intelligent and they take information more than sometimes we realize. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we realize that even in terms of our general information to the public, children are some of the best means to have the information disposed. Once you teach them something in a certain way, they'll go home and make sure, mommy, the fire officer tell you not to do it, mommy, you're doing the wrong thing, right?
Oh, yes.
So it is let us try to capture that type of energy.
Right.
Teach them the correct things.
Yeah.
Try to reinforce the right things that they're supposed to do. They will eventually grasp it. I mean, we have to nurture their creativity as well. You don't want to just put them in a box isolated from everything. But at the same time, you ensure as well that you provide levels of supervision when dealing with the hazardous stuff. Right? Try to not if they're too young, let them keep away from matches and lighters and these things. But as they mature to certain ages, you have to teach them as they become adults.
Right.
So it takes a level of maturity and responsibility from the adults and a certain level of awareness to be able to supervise your children, right, while allowing them to grow and develop, right, and hope that, we all can develop a safety mindset. The safety starts with you. So the safety of the children also means that the parents also have to have a safe approach to dealing with their children and exposing them to the different aspects of life and fire safety and stuff.
And of course, that is very important. And I want to thank you for sharing with us. And of course, viewers, we all have a responsibility. I always encourage us when we end, and I remind us, yes, we are our brother's keeper. Whether we like it or not, we have to look out for each other. We have to look out for the neighbor's child. We have to look out for the neighbor, especially those who may need that extra help or support. So let's continue to learn, educate ourselves, and remember, adults or children are always looking on at us. So set the right example. Electricity is not there for whatever reason, and some of us, we may not have the torch lights or the fancy lights we have now. When you go back to using your candles, make sure you know where you place your candles. My son will always remind me, get the candles in the jar. He doesn't want me to use the candles just by itself where the wax running down any old place. So little things like that. Let's just be more conscious. We can do it, and we can help change the behavior of our children to be more conscious and more safety aware. So thanks again for joining us. And viewers, this is all the time we have. It is Friday. The weekend has begun. Remember, you are your brother's keeper, and let's look out for each other.